Well, Sinclair getting let off the hook there. I'll be very relieved to hear that Bicchietti had the black aces when he was tanking in the big. And you don't want to put any tailwinds on Jack Sinclair, by the way. Don't well him up with confidence. The guy doesn't need any help. But when he knows that he's playing well.
So maybe Van Brug
Whoa.
was considering some of these other hands.
Yeah, if he's willing to go with the 10-8 and the hijack. This is ill-advised, Brian?
Yeah, I think this is, I mean, 10-8 off for 7 bigs is not a shove without ICM.
Oh, my goodness. He's
with
run
ICM,
into nines.
it's definitely a fold.
And the nines, which have moved all in over the top of him, have in turn run into kings. And
he can't even contain his smile into his as he sees what's developed. Yeah, no, this is not an all-in even without ICM considerations, and with it, it just makes the 10-8 off, just makes it even more of a losing play in my opinion. And Fanini has a pretty clear get in behind him with the nines, and now Sinclair is, you know, I mean, there's ICM considerations, but here this is a spot to potentially triple up, and kings is just too big of a hand. So, you know, he's got to be pretty happy about this development, even though it puts him at risk.
And once Sinclair moves in, Fanini knows that his hand is potentially in trouble.
Oh, yeah. Fanini cannot be happy there. Because even though the stacks are relatively short, Sinclair's going to be pretty tight. I would almost think Sinclair folds 8s. So, you know, kind of like his range is sort of ace-king and 10s plus. It's quite a bad range for Fanini all in all. I mean, it's not even clear if Sinclair maybe plays ace-queen suited. He's going to be quite tight there between an all-in and a call, even though the positions are somewhat late. But just with ICM, and he can fold and move up a pay jump.
Queen 9 suited was a bit of temptation for some reason for Bissett, but
well, bad news, one more 9 out the deck. Fanini's in bad shape, and even Van Brug almost can't make a straight. Kings is just going to be an even bigger favorite than it looks based on those percentages because of the card removal.
Yeah, and we've got another 18 million plus chip pot on our hands here. The only good news for Fanini is that he will have a few chips left as he slightly covers Sinclair. Regardless of outcome, the side will be between Sinclair and Fanini, and then Van Brug plays for the whole thing, or the main rather.
Yeah, so Fanini gets this pay jump to 7th as long as, even if Sinclair wins the pot, which is very likely, he will at least and most likely come in 7th.
Oh my God. 2 10s and a jack roll right off, and you can tell Van Brug's rail is loving it, and not at all entertained are these two men. Wildly improbable. I suspect everybody thinks a queen on the turn is the appropriate sweat. Instead, it's the 4.
I mean, well, you know, when you know you're flopping trips, I guess moving all in with 10-8 offsuit is the right play.
Unbelievable here as Van Brug is looking like he is going to triple. Even he can't believe it. Just needs to fade a 9 or a king, and he's done it. 10's full on the river. Listen, I don't speak Dutch, but I know what that means.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Oh, fuck. Oh. Oh.
All right.
Perna.
So Perna here really under the gun. So he has a lot of chips, even though he's not the chip leader, wants to apply some pressure. I think 9-5 suited, 7-handed under the gun is too wide, especially considering it's not like he's even the runaway chip leader. There's someone else who actually has more. So he's second now. Van Brug here, you know.
Just flatting the 2 10s?
I got to say, I don't really like this play. I would just move all in and put my stack at risk. I think Perna's going to have some hands he's folding. You're sort of happy to take it down with 10s, and it's definitely a strong enough hand that I guess it's like God bless you if you got this beat. You know, if he moves all in and wins, he's going to pick up almost 5 million in chips, which is a very significant pickup for him. But
oh my goodness!
Again, when you know you're going to flop it, yeah.
10's full for Van Brug, no waiting, and Perna's check draws an all in.
Oh my goodness!
Instantly. Oh my goodness! Wait a minute. Perna did not check. Perna said all in, and just presumed that he would be able to push Van Brug around, but really the range of hands that Van Brug would be willing to call and all in here are Jack X, 2 10s, the overpair. All of them are going to have 9-5 in disastrous shape.
Yes, you know,
this is a clear mistake.
Yeah, we saw Van Brug folding the king queen in the previous hand, and with king queen or ace queen, he actually probably would fold it. That said, I believe you could find out the information for less than all in.
That's my day, yeah?
So even if you, I already didn't like his open, but even if
I believe so as well. Yeah. Sinclair off of 4 million, just the 2 bigs. 10-7 suited is going to open here with a raise to 3.5 million.
Yeah, so another spot where, again, you leaving yourself a little bit of chips in the event that maybe some other people go all in is the ideal. But to me, if you were going to do that, why not just min raise to 2 million? And that way, if there's an all in and call behind you, and you actually do decide to fold, you save yourself an extra big blind and a half. So, yeah, I can't say I can 100% explain this move in terms of is there a better strategic option that does the same thing? I would think yes, but yeah, I don't know. Players like doing this. Maybe he's never folding that last 500K, and it's just more like a hey personal style type of deal. Saliba here with an interesting decision. She is, despite winning that previous pot, you can see how much the blinds and antes have cost her, back down to 5 million. Kind of believe here against the player she actually covers and realizes incentivized to go all in somewhat wide here. Probably ends up going with a hand as strong as ace-9 off, despite not being too pleased about it, although it's a somewhat tough spot. The thing she has to think about is that if Sinclair gets this through and the big blind folds, she will be in a much more precarious position. So she has a chance now to bust a player who she covers, and she has some reasons to think that ace-9 off might actually be a better hand given how desperate he is.
It really is a matter of determining just how wide Sinclair's range is going to be here, and we know that Jack is a professional with stripes, as is Vivian.
I think she'll go with it, but yeah, she's not too happy about it. She'll be pretty happy to see.
Yeah.
Well, yes and no. She would definitely like to see maybe ace-5, which she dominates, but you know, I mean, she's a solid favorite here. And happy to see at least that she isn't behind.
Yeah, the dominant ace was the real concern. And so a smile on Saliba's face, who takes her hand into battle as a 3-2 favorite. She does have Sinclair covered.
Yeah, so she will not be out if she loses this hand, and will have a good 5 hands until she catches the big blind to decide when to put in her last 1.4. Were she to lose.
Thank you.
Saliba's deepest run, the WSOPE, came in a 10K pot limit Omaha 8-handed championship event. Began playing poker live at the age of 17 when her dad actually brought her to a poker club in Sao Paulo.
Pretty cool.
Not sure they're 17 and up, but nevertheless, she has cashed in 9 separate World Series of Poker Europe events. Jack 8-4, and now the gut shot straight draw materializing for Sinclair. The 9 of spades becomes a blocker.
Although Saliba, you can see, despite the fact that it brought a straight draw, her equity actually improved at this point to 67%. So, you know, a slightly above average flop for her, as, you know, really she's trying to fade Sinclair flopping a pair more than anything.
Which she has done successfully. And now with the board pairing, she has a 4-1 edge. Sinclair with just 9 outs once. Will the most accomplished player here at this final table be headed for an exit? He will. Oh, never mind. The 7 binks him. 8s and 7s for Sinclair. But of course, we can afford to min raise, and the upside is great at this point.
You risk 2.4 to win 3. You have the king blocker. It's a solid hand. Pretty easy fold if anybody re-raises you behind, and you're applying pressure with the big stack.
Ace queen now for Perna off of 23 million.
Perna much more comfortable with this than his jack 8 off open last hand. Ooh, Van Brug. What will he do with the ace 6 suited? I don't think we can know.
Especially after back-to-back raises from Perna, where we begin to question whether or not our friend is speedy.
Besides the flat.
Yeah. Obviously in rough shape here. Will Giovanni elect to speculate here, getting a price?
At least he has position going for him. I feel like this hand is a little too weak to want to continue, and I like his decision again.
Obviously, there was a pretty broad spectrum of holdings that Giovanni would have been willing to plunk another 1.3 out there with, but deuce 4 offsuit was not included, and then would have ended up with bottom pair here and the best hand on an 8-high rainbow flop. As it were, Perna remains heads up and dominant.
Yeah, but this is one of the issues of playing the deuce 4 off, is that even though he has the best hand here, it's very difficult to know that, and can be difficult waters to navigate.
Out of position against 2 players, of course.
Now, Van Brug has a difficult decision here. He does have ace high, which might be the best hand, and a backdoor flush draw, and I do not fault him for calling what amounts to a very small c-bet of less than quarter of the pot. And
he manages to spike a 6 on the turn. What an improbable outcome this is. He leaves Perna with just 7% equity, and after getting called on the flop, Perna does pump the brakes.
So Van Brug here decides to check back, which is very reasonable.
Oh, and it would have been trip deuces had Giovanni managed to find a path to the river.
Wow, he just moved all in.
Oh, this is the second time we've seen what amounts to slightly reckless all-ins here by Perna against Van Brug. And he is covered. All Van Brug needs to do is click call and send Perna to the locker room.
This is a very weird play, in my opinion, with ace-queen. I feel like there's going to be a decent amount of the time where you will check down and ace-queen is the best hand. For example, if Van Brugge had any other suited ace that didn't hit the 6, he would just check down and win versus ace-8 high or whatever. It's possible Van Brugge could have a hand like king-queen, king-jack with a backdoor flush draw, a similar type of hand, all of which he beats. So to me, turning ace-queen into a bluff here is not the play I would do. I will say this. If he's bluffing, he's trying to get a hand like this, like a 6 or an 8 or pocket 7s or pocket 5s to fold. And those hands would probably call a smaller bet. So if you're going to bluff with ace-queen here, I do actually think this is maybe the size to do it at, because now you're asking for your opponent to make a big call with a small 2-pair. So,
and it's within reason to imagine that they might find a path to an exit with a holding like that. But as played, of course, we know that Van Brugge might be asking himself whether or not a real hand
would bet like this.
Yeah.
And so this is a tough decision for Van Brugge. I don't know what he'll do. Interesting pot. Perna has clearly shown a proclivity to make some wild plays.
Well, so has Van Brugge, and he is sizing his man up here. He does have Perna covered, so even if he clicks call and is wrong, he would still have chips remaining, and you see Perna realizing it is all over, and the Dutchman
17.7
wins a massive pot and eliminates the Italian in 6th. And he will sit atop the leaderboard all alone.
Yeah, that's more, much more.
Now, obviously, 56,000 euros will help hedge the disappointment for Ciro Perna, but I think when he goes back and considers some of the maneuvers that he made here at this final table, there are some points to be improved upon and some lessons to be gleaned.
Percent of the total chips. I mean, at this point, these two guys are really... Now, this is a play. Okay, so with 10.4, he's getting short enough that he sort of can't afford to pay the blinds, and has decided queen 6 off is just good enough. It's a close decision because it's the chip leader's big blind, and he's somewhat incentivized to call you given how little it is. And we'll see whether or not he even feels queen 8 might be enough here. So, yeah, he did. Be very happy to see the news. Wake up. Just wakes up with the dominating hand every time.
Again, we find him with the best of it. Obviously, you see the percentages don't add up to 100. Roughly 21% of the time, these guys might find themselves in a chop. And Bissett looks a little bit besmirched, not understanding perhaps why it is that queen 8 would elect to draw the line.
Yeah, I mean, it ultimately comes down to kind of pot odds there, and queen 8 off probably just Giovanni feeling like it's just enough. Like maybe he folds the queen 7 off, to be honest, and calls queen 9 for sure.
And he could very well know that Bisset's range was very doubtful to include something like the queen 6, which is an absolute best case scenario. But if you can have 2 live cards and take a look at a full board, it'll be in decent shape. King 10-10, and opportunities surfacing in a
certainly
almost 24 million chip pot. Now.
In fact, it's likely a chop, as you can see, because their percentages only add up to 39%. So 60% of the time, on a jack, on an ace, on a 9,
my
this pot chops.
Somehow a 6 rolls off the deck, and Giovanni has got to be devastated by that development. A chop, sure, but scoop me?
Yeah, wow. That will vault Bissett up to being... There we are. Now Bissett has about as many chips as Rolf, and... spot that was close.
We both agree that we don't necessarily know what Bisset's perceptions of himself versus Giacovano in this spot are, as we see an all-in and a call, but it does feel like Marius favors himself against Bisset.
Yeah.
And yet he's willing to get it all in with the 2-5s instead of trying to grind his man down, and Bisset indulging here with the ace-4.
Yeah, I think 5s is a example of a candidate that's a really good shove at 15 blinds. You know, you're very happy to deny equity against hands that might not call your all-in, such as, say, like Queen 8, you know, Jack 7. They're not calling a 15 big blind shove, whereas they'll call a smaller bet. So, you know, in some hands that call, such as this. So I think Giacovano, despite wanting to play small ball, just feels, and I think correctly, that 5s is still a hand that just plays very well as a shove.
And it looks very good here on the 7-6 deuce board, where Bisset needs help. 96.2 million in the middle.
A lot of help. This is not a good flop for him. Ooh.
He makes a 4, but does not have the flush draw. Giacovano picks up the open-ender and the diamonds.
Only improves by 1 out because the ace of diamonds went away, even though he picked up 2 4s.
4 outs for the Swissman, and there is one of them. The outpouring of emotion and a stoic Giacovano, as roles have been reversed here in Rozvadov.
Yes, Barry Greenstein shows up in force with the ace on the river. What a card.
Giacovano just experienced. The home stretch can be an elusive animal. That finish line. Now.
Oh, wow. I mean, probably calling this. This is exactly.
Yeah. And Bisset looks to close it out with a 1-2 punch, sitting on King 9 suited. A dog against the Ace 3 suited. You can see the emotion in Giacovano as he slammed the call out there.
Yeah, I mean, he was just a huge favorite to win this tournament with 1 to come, and got 4 outed. And
almost a 3-2 favorite here. Looks like the champagne is already on standby here. Is this preordained?
I think Giacovano's going to win this, and we're going to keep playing a little bit longer. But let's see. I don't know. I feel like we're not done yet.
Oh my goodness. Jack 9. Bisset jumps in front.
I feel like I understood what he was saying there. Yeah, man. That.
Giacovano left to shake his head, but now the developments.
Will Barry Greenstein show up one more time?
Well, it's not just the ace that works, but diamonds as well for Giacovano.
Minus the 9 of diamonds, of course, but
molim te Allaha, Allaha molim, Allaha molim sve najviše, Allahu pomisli na nas, Allahu pomisli na nas, Allahu pomisli na nas, Allahu pomisli na nas, Allahu samiluj se, Amilu samiluj se.
Here comes the river.
Full house.
Ja man! Ja man!
Emil Bisset is your mini main event champion, and Giacovano can do nothing.
So who do we think this gentleman is? Is it his brother? Is it his backer? Yeah.